let's just sew whatever. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are making the See What I Got bag. Oh, that was good timing. I forgot to film an intro for this, so here is the outro with new sound. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to work on the card slots to begin with. So I'm going to be using the backing of the card slots to attach the other card slots onto. So I've just laid this down a 1/2 inch from the top edge. This is the open side, and I'm going to sew along the bottom edge after I turn on my sewing machine. And then I'm going to lay the next one down over top of that, about a 1/2 inch lower. I'm going to do a stitch line. This is not really like at all how it is in the pattern, but it's what I'm doing, so here we are. Louise won't mind. So there's that. So I've got one card slot here, one card slot here, and then like a bigger slip pocket here. We're going to find the top, and this is an oval, so top or top, it doesn't matter. And this is going to get placed, let's see, about 3 inches down, 2.5 inches, let's say. We'll do 2 inches down from the top edge. That looks good. I like that. And you want to center it. There we go. And now this is the inside of your bag now, whatever you've got those card slots on. And you could even add a little woven label to this part now. I'm debating. Make sure your card slots are facing up. For a second I was worried mine weren't. And then you can pull your threads in and trim. So all I'm doing is yanking on the top thread to bring up the one from the back side, and then you can tie it off. I just sometimes trim, and if you can't get it, that's okay, just trim. Oh, it's so cute. Like, it's just thread. Like, why is that cute? But somehow it is. So you've got your bigger slip pocket here, and then 2 card slots there. And now we're going to use our D-ring connector piece. So this is a 2-inch strip. I'm going to add double-sided tape. I feel like some jelly vinyls have a right side and a wrong side. I don't know with this one. The one I'm using, this pink, is from Fandia Fabrics. I got it at Tennessee Sew Magical Expo, but I believe they have it on their website as well. If not, my friend Brittany at the Emporium should be carrying some soon. So we're just going to top stitch this. And then you can sew it down 4 times. And what that's going to do is going to help prevent any lifting. So I did an 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And then we'll do about 1/4 of an inch centered in. And yeah, so whatever fabric you use, that's going to help prevent any lifting and keep those side edges down. especially since this is going to be sliding around quite a bit. Then we'll slide our D-ring. You can, like I said, you can use a triangle ring, a D-ring, or a square ring on that piece. Just make sure it's 1 inch. And then this is going to go 3 inches up from the bottom on the right, or on the exterior side. So here's my card slots. We're going to flip it over because that's the lining. And this is now my exterior. So about 3 inches up with your D-ring facing up. We'll lay that down and baste it into place. Oh my gosh, I love that. So then to keep that from sliding around into my seam allowances, I'm just going to add that little clip there, and we'll set that aside for right now. Next, we're going to work on the comfort strap. So this is where I'm like, how do I want to do this? I don't know. Alright, we're going to add our slide adjuster first. I really need to get some slim 1 inch slide adjusters. I know that much is true. Slide the webbing through. And then I like to do 2 rows of top stitch. And then we'll add our snap hook. I love how minimal hardware this bag is too. Ooh, throw that anywhere. Alright, so I've got the wrong side face up. So that's the folded over side. We're adding our snap hook to the bottom. And then we're going up and over the slider. And then before you finish this off, you can check to make sure there's no slippage. So you can see that's the right side of the strap because you don't see the folded over edge. If for some reason you do, it's not the end of the world. Nobody's gonna care. So now this is going to get sewn with the right sides together. Let's see here. So if you backtrack it, this, I guess it doesn't really matter for this strap because it's clear, but I'm pretty sure this is the back. Yeah. So you've got the back right side up, your strap face up, centered. I'm gonna baste this really quick. And if you want, you can even put more of your webbing in that seam for stability. And then we're going to do right sides together. Oh yeah, this is a bad idea. Alright, I'm gonna work my way around, and then I think maybe I'll tape up the last edge. That might be the easiest way for this to turn. And you want to make sure that you're not sewing through your webbing at any point, other than right here. There we go. And then we'll pivot. I think I'll sew down a little bit in this area, and then we'll turn it out. Because I think being able to like pull on this strap to get all those layers out, I think it'll be okay. Here's what I want to make sure we do though, is trim this corner at an angle. Leave the rest though. You can leave this. I think we could leave all of that as well. So, I mean, let's try. Oh. Yeah. So the way it's stated in the pattern is you would sew around like the corner bits and then leave a long side open, turn that in to turn this through. So kind of what I was thinking, but not quite. Because this is fun. I think I can do it though. But just like when you're turning a bag, you want to start with what's furthest away from the opening so that you have room for the rest of it. Like if I start turning this now, what's at the front, we're not going to have room for what's in the back to come through and come forward. I just need to get my slide adjuster through, and then I think it won't be too bad. But yeah, no, this was not the best idea. Definitely follow the directions as far as turning it through the side then. But I feel like I'm committed at this point. I feel like I'm gonna do it. Here we are. Give me some time, please. So I ended up taking out some stitches, kind of like they show in the pattern, to turn it out through the side. And even that was a bit of a bear. I also decided to sew the bottom shut like shown in the pattern. It was a little bit easier to turn through that way. And then just used a turning tool to poke in all of those corners. Okay, I did it, but I don't want to talk about it. Don't do this. Don't do 2 layers like this, whatever you do. Although now I'm over here like, well, I've come this far, I may as well make it a shaker strap and add glitter to it. I think I'm going to. Because again, I didn't come this far to not make it the most amazing strap in the world. So I did end up ripping out the center because there's no way I was going to get the bag through that hole. But I'm not mad that I did it because now I have this like marking in a way of where I need to turn the bag to. Like I need to turn these edges in to those perforation lines. It's not a big deal. Definitely would be easier with fabric, like vinyl, etc. If you are making this and you want to use a fleece or a foam, you could even kind of sew it together, turn it, and then slide that foam into the seam. It just might be a little tricky. Now I'm covered in thread fetty. Okay. So, because I want to add glitter, I'm going to start, although I might even cut off the free end here, because I feel like this is going to add a ton of bulk in my seam. So yeah, I'll just cut that and get this off. I did have to sew that shut. It is part of the pattern instructions. But I think it's going to add a lot of bulk to that area, so I'm deciding to open it, but it does make it a lot easier to turn. Going all the way down to the end. I'm like, I want to add the glitter, but I'm also afraid that, well, nope, let's just do it. Let's do it. Why have glitter if not to put it in bags? You know what I mean? Like, I'm afraid it's gonna get stuck, might get uncomfortable, but no glitter, no gain, right? Like, it's probably just gonna get caught in the seams here and there, but oh well. Alright. It's still fun. I'm here for it. All right, and now is a very important part about putting it together. We're gonna grab the back side again, and then whatever side you put facing up is the right side, because it goes together like this. So that's my right side. So you want it right side up. So I'm lining up the centers and I'm basting that into place. And a lot of times that can be super confusing, like, well, which side is which? I don't understand. But you just have to like deconstruct it in your head and imagine that zipper panel is sewn on, and then you turn the bag through and look, there's your right side. Oh gosh, the glitter is perfect. I regret nothing. It's worth the pain I'm feeling in my hands. Alright, so there's our back panel finished. Our front panel will need a tag. So I have some from Heartwood and Hide that I can sew on. Either have that one, or I have this one. That doesn't help. I'm gonna go with this one. And I feel like sometimes with clear bags, etc., it's hard to know like where to add a tag. So I'm almost tempted to just like throw it on there in a place that makes sense instead of sewing it straight. Does that make sense? I'm here for that. I like it. Oh, not today, Bobbin. So that's the front panel done, back panel done. And then I'm moving on to the gusset construction. So since I'm not adding the Decaville heavy stabilizer, mine's gonna be put together just a little bit differently. But our seam allowances will stay the same. Okay, 1/4 of an inch. Okay, 1/4 of an inch. So it's pretty much a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance throughout. So that works. I've got my 2 zipper panels here. So I have an exterior and I have a lining. Again, this is not part of the pattern. This is how I have decided to cut it. My panels are cut in a directional way, so I'm going to add my double-sided tape to the center of those. And then for the lining pieces, it doesn't matter. All right, so grab 1 lining, 1 exterior, peel off the double-sided tape, and then I decided to add 2 zipper pulls. And I always like to cut my zipper tape quite a bit longer than it needs to be so that my zipper pulls are way off to the edge. We're going to do right sides together. And then line up that raw edge and your zipper panel edges. Sew that together, and then we're going to press this wrong sides together, right sides out, and top stitch. I'm going to pull apart those edges as I go. So now you can see the lining is like clear but not, and that Taylor Swift vinyl has this pretty pretty pink backing. And then we'll add the other side. So lining up the top raw edge of our zipper and the top raw edge of that gusset, making sure the side edges line up. Flip it over and then right sides together for our lining. And I love it when we start to run out of pattern pieces that need to be sewn together. You could even make the zipper panel a shaker panel full of glitter if you sew it this way. Everything should be full of glitter. Okay, and now we want to bring our zippers into the center, and you can trim away your excess zipper tape. I still like to have a little bit, oh yeah, I don't have a lighter down here right now, within my seam allowances, and I like to prevent it from fraying by just giving it a little zap with a lighter. And now for this side, we're going to line up the open raw edges of our gusset. So my exteriors are right sides together, and then my lining is going to be right sides together. So this is not part of the pattern. This is just my little way of having fun. But this will also enclose the raw edge of our zipper. Moving along on the zipper panel, this is a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then we're going to top stitch at an 1/8. My stitch length is currently set to 5, but it probably couldn't hurt to make it a little bit smaller. And then the way I like to top stitch my gusset panel is only through the exterior. So my lining is not folded down at this time, just my exterior. And this is going to help me make sure that my layers fit together nicely. So then we can flip this so that wrong sides are together. And then I'm going to sew all the way around the edge. And if anything starts to feel weird in these corners, I have a little bit of wiggle room since I did not top stitch down my lining panel. But you're still going to be basting it and sewing it together, so it's not causing any kind of an issue structurally. Okay. So the TPU is pretty sticky. So I'm sewing it this way, but I'm keeping it in the round in a way, because sometimes if you shift it and you sew it with the exterior face up instead of your lining, things tend to not fit quite right. So just throwing that out there. trim your threads. And we're getting close to finishing this bag. So excited. And here's where you want to make sure things stay fairly flat. Don't get twisted. And then my jelly is cut a little bit shorter than my exterior over here, so I'm just making sure I baste through the jelly layer, and then I'll trim it. You can see here things were just a little bit off. I'll just trim it. I think I cut my jelly a little bit short there, or I may not have pulled enough on that layer. And then I'm going to mark my centers. By finding them. And then since this gusset is equidistant on the top edges, like there's no right side, wrong side situation. So I'm going to start with the front panel. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So you can see there's already some shadowing. This is not the vine, like this is not the seller's fault. This is just a matter of like the nature of TPU. So you can use like a little alcohol wipe to remove those shadows, but it's gonna happen over time anyway. So what I'm gonna do to keep things from shifting is I'm just gonna do a super quick baste at my center marks. And then your zipper is at the top of that panel, and then not your zipper is at the bottom. If you only have one zipper pull, then you're going to want to make sure you keep in mind which way you have that turned. I'm going to get just my glitter clips. And just slowly clip around the panel. And what's kind of fun about the jelly and the clear TPU is that they have a little bit of stretch to them. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. So one thing that kind of helps me clip gussets is I will line up the raw edge and then push it over the edge of my table to add my clip, and repeat that. You can also use double-sided tape to help you hold all your edges together. Okay. And then we're just gonna sew around with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then we can add our binding. And then something I've seen the Crafty Reporter do is she will sew at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Someday I would love to try it, but I don't think I'm going to anytime soon. She'll sew at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and then attach the binding at a 1/4 of an inch, fold it over and sew again so that there's only like one raw edge of your binding, which I think is pretty cool. You can also use frosted or clear or jelly vinyl for binding if you don't want to use like a pre-made binding or anything like that. And the results are pretty cool from that as well. I'm gonna use, yeah, this binding. So what she will do with the pre-made binding is she will sew that 1/8 of an inch, she'll sew a 1/4 of an inch this way, and then she'll fold this around the seam and sew again. So you've just got this tiny little bit of binding. It's very impressive. I mean, she is very impressive in general, so makes sense. I'm gonna use this 3/4 inch wide double-sided tape. I call it Binding Buddy tape. This is from Weft and Warp Co., but I also sell it on my website. What I love is that it's rippable, so it makes this process even faster. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start at the bottom and just unpeel a little bit of that tape, and then start to fold this around to that raw edge, clip in place. And what I like to do is make sure that there's a little bit extra on the underside of that seam as I'm going around. So you can see here, I'm only unpeeling a little bit at a time, and I have it in my hand so that as I'm pulling and stretching the binding, I'm also untaping a bit of it. And just wrapping, pinching, stretching around the seam. And just work on a couple inches at a time. If your layers are not super even, you can trim them to be even. And I will often hold it against my body for a little extra stability for the bag. So if you're not seeing what I'm doing, I apologize. But I never know what angle to film from. Like filming from above, I feel like you see more, and I don't have to put on makeup, so I really enjoy that. But I never know what angle is best. I've had a lot of people say like they don't like the side angle, and then I've had a lot of people say they don't like the top angle. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. So you tell me, you like the top, the side, or you want me to try to figure out how I can do both? All right. So there is my binding attached. Now we will sew it in place. Just going around the edge. And you don't really want to sew much more into your seam allowance than the bag has already been sewn. Okay. So there's one side, and then you can kind of flip, see how it looks. I think it looks awesome. And so the next side we're attaching will be the back side that has our card slots and the strap. So you can see this is a pretty good sized bag. You've got a nice size zipper here. You're going to be able to hold quite a bit versus something like the Mav Pack, which is like essentials only. And this, you've got some room to grow. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So make sure you've got your strap and your card slots at the top. Your card slots should be facing you so that they're in the lining of the bag. That's the outside. This is the inside. So I'm clipping my center points at the top and the bottom. And I'm going to baste those together. This does seem like it'll be easier to sew in the round than with gusset down, but I didn't have any fit issues, so it's not too bad. Make sure that your zipper is unzipped at this point. However, if you're just using number 5 nylon, you can easily unzip it by just forcing your nail in between. Sometimes like metal zippers, they do not unzip easily, or locking zippers, you want to make sure that you've got it by the pull. But that's my information there. So clipping out the main points and then working the curves together. Now that I'm this far, I'm always worried at stadiums that like the printed isn't clear enough, so I'm wondering like maybe I should have just done the hearts for the front and the back and then done the print and the jelly on the side. That would have been good, but that's okay. All right. Alright, so we've got everything sewn together. Binding is attached. We're going to turn it right side out, and because I use TPU and not PVC, this isn't too bad. Oh, that was just a clip I had keeping my D-ring in place. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. So I'm just pressing on the curves of the bag to turn that right side out. So you can see here is where we added our strap, and with it right side up when you're wearing it, that's right side out. And it still has really good structure, being that it's 2 layers of vinyl on the side panel, but it definitely doesn't have quite that pizzazz that the Decaville Heavy in those seams would give. So if you can figure that out and still use the clear vinyl that you would want, etc., I recommend it. But otherwise, I still think it's cute. Mine looks a little lopsided, misshapen, but I'm okay with it. It could be that I just had different seam allowances at the top and bottom, or I didn't cut it straight enough, which is not an impossible thing. Here is the glitter in the strap. And then when you wear it, you could either wear it to the front or to the back, and then that D-ring on the side is going to help you adjust it to whatever side you want it to be. So there's that, and you can see what I got. So thank you so much for hanging out while we made this bag. I hope you will check out Made by Elle Patterns. She is a fantastic human who would never steal a toaster, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.